Hey everybody, so this is a video particularly for the people who joined me in the Mara a couple of weeks ago for our wildlife photography workshop. Now, one of the things that we did is we photographed the Maasai around the fire, and this year compared to previous years, I added a whole bunch of different light sources as well. Normally, we would just have the Maasai and the natural light of the fire. This time we included additional light as well. Now, I'm gonna run you through the processing of this, and the first thing I need to tell you is don't overthink this. It is different, but don't overthink it because then we get hysterical and that's a bad thing. So I'm going to be going through the basic panel first of all, and then the majority of the work for this kind of processing is going to happen in the new mask function within Lightroom. It's remarkably effective. So I am going to be digging deeper into the masking function specifically to look at how you process these images. Now, I'm going to look at one in particular which has a little bit of everything. There is Maasai, there's shadows, there's bright lights, there's smoke, and there's fire. Not necessarily the best image, but a good one for us to process, and then we can use those skills to move on as well. I'm going to keep this particular one in Lightroom only, even though for this image, I would normally use Photoshop to clean it up a little bit. The content aware for object removal, for like some of these bright sparks of light flare, I will do in Photoshop, but this one will keep it in Lightroom. So here we go. Now, this is the raw file, untouched as is. So what you can see, Dixon, there's a very bright area on his face here, and the contrast for me between the dark side and the light side of the face, just a little bit too heavy, right? We're going to play at bringing out some of the shadows and light in the body here. This, obviously, we're going to clean up. These two little light flares, we're going to get rid of that. I do like the flare. Again, I've got everything in this image. That's why I'm using this one. So we're going to see if we're going to make this a bit stronger or push it back. Smoke. You guys will remember when you were with me in the Mara, we spoke about the smoke and how that can be a very big compositional element to add balance to the frame. We're going to look at this. And also then the flames in the frame can be very bright, and we don't want the flames to draw the attention away from our main subject. So here we go into the basic panel. Now, normally we would start blacks, work up to exposure, texture, and come down. These are different though. So if we were to set the black point, you hold Option, you grab this, slide it black. There's already black in the image. You can see it. So there's already pure black. Not necessarily going to play with this one much. Let's leave that. Same with whites. There's already white in the image. So leave those alone. Shadows and highlights is most of the time where you're going to be going when you attack these kind of images inside of Lightroom. So shadows would give us a bit of depth. So if we push this all the way down, watch what happens. I almost lose my flare, I almost lose the smoke, and it makes this shadow and light pop a lot more than it normally would. Okay, keep that in mind. Highlights would take the highlight areas and push it down. Pretty simple, yeah? Shadows and highlights. So I'm not going to do too much globally on this because I'm going to be doing the mask. There's too many individual pieces here that I want to manage, and this masking feature does a great job in allowing us to do that. The one slider though, and I said this to you guys on the workshop, that is a lot, well, that can be used a lot, is contrast. Just a little bit of contrast can make a huge difference to this. Now, you probably will not want to do this. It's flat, and that side it becomes too dark. So the contrast on the face is just unacceptable. So for this, what you want to do, I'm going to drop my contrast a little bit, just so that I get detail here that I can see what I'm working with before and after. Okay, I've only touched the contrast slider for now. Before we go, let's just clean up these two little light flares because it really bothers me. You hit Q on the keyboard. That's your clone and heal tool. Click and key. Let's just zoom in there for a little bit more. The big thing here and you can see Lightroom doesn't always do the best job with this. I'm not going to get petty about it now. Like I said, I would normally do those in Lightroom, but we'll keep it there for now. With that said and done, into the masking feature we go. Now, you click on the top, and it adds all of this. Now, these top two is golden. We're not going to use sky because there is no sky, but select the subject should highlight Dixon as a whole. Let's just see that. Boom. However, I am not, and let me show you why. I'm not going to control him as an entity because there's too many contrasty areas on him, too much brights and darks. I'm going to go with a brush on that. Okay, I could possibly look at contrast on him. Okay, but still, you see how this face is too bright. We need to fix that. But what I do find handy is once I've selected my subject, invert it and it gives me the background. Now this I like, because from here, I can control just the background. Now, normally, just come with me for a second here. Normally, you would approach brushes and masks, which is isolated adjustments from the biggest area to the smallest. And that's what we're doing now. The background, then we're going to go to the fire, the smoke, and then we're going to do all of these. The idea with this is to try and shift the visual mass and the visual attention from here all the way onto him. Okay, now where were we here? So we have got the background. I'm going to push this back just a little bit. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going to lift clarity up here, because watch what it does, and I'm going to overdo this for you guys so you can see. Watch what it does to the smoke. Okay, it's quite detailed, but I'm going to do that individually. So for now, just a little bit down, and let's play with contrast on the background as well. There we go. I'm going to turn my masks on and off by using the tab at the top. Okay, pushed it back just a little bit. Now we're going to go specific. So I'm going to add a new mask. I'm going to go brush. And in this instance, I can make it a bit smaller. The most important thing here is flow and density. I'm going to keep the flow low, around about a 20, and I'm going to buffer density to 90. If you guys do not know what those two are, let me know, because that is where the magic of the brush comes in. Short version, flow means for every brush stroke that I do, 19% in this instance of whatever adjustment I choose will be applied to the brush stroke, up to a maximum of 91% of the adjustment. Okay, if you don't get that, please let me know, and I can send you the video that I've done already on that. So I'm going to now just first, before I do adjustments, I'm going to brush the different areas that I'm going to be working. So I'm going to do that over there. Now you'll see I'm not too specific. I'm not trying to outline this, because if I now come with this fire and I change the highlights, for example, it's not going to attack the areas outside because there are really no highlights, right? So that's for later. I'm going to add another brush. Create mask, brush. This time I'm going to brush my smoke over there. Okay, there's a little bit there and one stroke there. Now you guys know that if you look at this red area, that's where the adjustments are going to take place, right? The more red it is, the more intense the red, the more intense the adjustment. So down here, just a little bit of red, up here, more so. Okay, create another one. Just because we can, let's put a brush on my little flare here as well, because some of you might have those in your images from the workshop. And now I need to get a little bit more specific with Dixon over here. So I'm going to create a new brush, and I am going to, for the first one, let's go in a little bit here. Not that far. Let me just zoom into a more easy workable distance. Still a bit much for me. Let's go 100. That's fine. Okay, so now my brush, I'm going to put on this highlighted area over there. So I'm going to do that, a lot of red, a little bit of red there. Let's do this area as well there. So I'm attacking the bright areas. And again, I'm not worrying about sticking in the lines as such like a school coloring book, because in this area here, if I move the highlight slider, there is no highlights in the background that can be affected. So it's very specific. Let me show you. So I've got those red areas now. So if I do this now, you see it's specific to the area. So I can manage that. Okay, one more brush to add, which is going to be the rest of him. So let's zoom back out. And now I want to do the rest of the arms over here. Let me just make this a little bit smaller on my brush. And I'm going to do this area here. Where is my mask? Show the overlay. Oops, you see, mistake. Undo there, create new mask, brush, and this time I'm going to now go for all these shadow areas. So you'll see I do a lot of brushing on the one side, little on the left, on the right hand arm, because this one's lighter and darker. So I'm trying to manage those different tones by putting different intensity of brushes on it. Okay, let's give it a little bit of stripe there. Okay, so we are now going to start. Here's all my brushes down the side. So this one was my background, right? The next one here is the fire. So let's start there. I'm just going to work all the way up. So the fire, what do we want to do with the fire? If I look at it, right, that's normal. It is quite bright. I don't want to do this because it starts feeling muted. Actually, cancel that. It does look quite nice. A little bit down. And I'm also going to take the highlights down just a touch. Okay, now what I like to do when I'm processing these images is you come to the top of the masks, and this is for any time working with masks. You can turn this on and off, and you can see the total changes by all of your masks. Okay, happy so far. Next one, up. Now this is my smoke. I might not want it as bright, but a little bit of texture in there could be nice depending on the composition. So we're going to come and say, okay, cool. Let's see what the brightness on this thing is. Not going to make it too down. And we're going to look at clarity here. So now you can get clarity into this. Dehaze could be interesting. Might darken it up a bit. Okay, I'm not there. Okay, somewhere there maybe. Let's turn my mask on and off. Okay, like where it's going. You can also, you guys should know this, mask, you can also click this little eyeball here and it'll just turn the one mask off. Okay, next one, the flare. If you guys have the flare in your images, clarity will either bring it out or drop it back, but still keep it. Okay, so for now, just because we can, let's make it a little bit brighter because Dixon's shining from the back. That's great. Okay, next one up. So now, these are the two important ones, right? The bright and the dark areas. So I need to balance those so that the attention, as I look at this image, the attention doesn't all go here, that it's more balanced throughout. Okay, so the first one, the bright areas, I'm going to say highlights and push the highlights down. Okay, now I'm not going to go totally like that. That's just wrong. I just want to break it a bit so it's not as harsh, somewhere there. I might also, if I look at this area at the top here, there's white in it. So let me take the white slider down and just manage that a little bit. Okay, liking that. And now the top one, we're going to lift that up a bit. So by looking at this, just to show you what there is. So that's the intensity there. I might lift the shadows up because it's all shadow based. And maybe lift the highlights on the arm a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to turn the masks on and off for the entire image. Right? Okay, what I want you to notice is as you look at this image now, all the attention is on this side of the face and on the fire. If I turn my masks on, it's way more balanced. My attention goes through the frame. There's not one point that screams for attention. However, I'm going to go deeper now. So, all of these tabs, there's my smoke, there's Dixon's brightness, his arms. I'm going to play with this one a little bit because I feel there's more. Okay, that was the background. That was the subject that I flipped. Okay, so this one here, I'm now going to add to this one by taking the brush and giving more on this side here. Okay, so now because I know where the adjustment's happening, I know what I've dialed in, as I brush, the changes will happen as I go. Maybe a little bit in the background here. Okay, let's turn it on and off. Okay, so what the idea was here was to show you all the different elements that you could have in your frame. That is the jump for a way more balanced image. Okay, let's close the mask. These are the other two images. There's one and there's two. So I'm going to now just go straight to the point here. On this one, what I want to do is I'm looking at this image. Where is the most important part? Obviously the face and the beads, but this is very big and in my face, as well as the bottom here is very bright. So what I want to do, I want to DJ, I want to conduct the light tones down and pull the darks up a little bit. Again, we're going to do this with a mask. Let's see if we go select subject, what it gives us. Should give us Dixon because it's in focus and the fire. Okay, so in that instance, that's a negative. I'm not going to go that way. Delete that one. And I'm going to go brushes only. So there, give me a brush, open. My flow and density is still down, which I like. And I'm going to do my brushes first. So I create my areas. So let's do one for the fire. There's my one. Give it a little bit more. Okay, add a new one. Brush for the dark face area and the shadow areas. So think there as well. That's the most of it. Okay, another brush for my problem area down here. And this is a problem to me because it's quite dark. It's too dark. Too light. Okay, so if we look at the brushes we currently have, there is the fire, there is his face, and there's the bottom. Okay, so let's start with the fire. Click there. We want to push that down. So exposure down, and take the highlights in the middle down as well. Now this is to taste. The thing I would suggest is when you start getting this here, this horrible gray stuff, back it up. Rather have it a bit bright than too dark. That looks unnatural. That we can still get away with. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Okay, pulled it back a bit. Next one, Dixon's face. What do we want to do? We're going to lift this up a bit, exposure-wise, and maybe bring the shadows up. Okay, not too much that it's completely distracting. Like that's fake, right? Over there maybe. Remember, this is dark images. This is not fully lit. And then the next one down would be down here, and there I want to push that down back a bit. Okay, highlight also back down. So now if I look at before and after, can you see how the attention right now is on the flame and the bottom, and when I flick it, it's more towards the face and the whole thing is balanced? That's what you're trying to do with these images. Okay, let's run one more. Okay, so let's crop this first up to maybe there somewhere. First thing I would do, I would clean the image up. Q, clone and heal, take that out. I'm going to leave this. It adds a nice little bit of balance at the top here. So what do we want to do in this image? Again, let's see what contrast does, because it kind of adds. This is going to be quite a dramatic one. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run with what I have. I'm going to look at a brush first. There's the brush. I'm going to give this area in the middle a bit of a brush with this area here. So the whole shuka, let me show you there. The whole shuka is now part of one. Okay. My next brush, I'm going to look at the bright arm. Come on, man. Create mask, brush. There we go. This arm. Okay. And then my next brush is going to be on the very dark areas like that. I hope this is making sense. I'm looking at the tonal values in the image to see how I can push and pull that around. Okay, so, oh, wait. Let's do one more. I'm going to do that just for fun because we can. Okay, starting with the shuka. What do we have? This is going to be the main area. So now you're looking, what do you need to do with it? I can lift the highlights up a bit, and I want to add texture to it because the detail in here is what we're after. Yeah? So clarity could also give you some. Overdoing it so you can see, but that's what I want. I want to pop that clarity a little bit because that texture contrasts beautiful with the smooth skin. Okay, next one, we are going to go to the smooth skin. Let's see, what do we need there? So it creates a nice line. So let's just see if we lift that up a bit and highlight up a bit, not too much. Okay, that's great. Next one, the dark areas. If I'm going to lift this up, okay, just a little bit. So that is almost non-existent. I would personally lift this up just so I get a little bit more detail and visual in there. Highlights could come up a little bit. And then on my fire, this is just for fun and games. Let's just see, maybe make that a little bit stronger. I could saturate it more, whatever the case might be. This is up to taste. Let's turn these masks on and off. Okay, so in different areas, I've adjusted different intensities of the image. Okay, so to wrap this up, don't overthink these type of images. The first thing you need to know is understand your masking feature, because you are not going to look at it's the arm, it's the head, it's this. You are going to look at where are the tonal values that are the same. If an area has the same brightness and you want to push it down, remember to select other areas of the same brightness to push it down. If there's texture you want to bring in, paint it just like that. I would suggest paint all of your areas first and then start conducting, like we mentioned at the workshop as well. These are fun. It's not difficult to edit. In the basic panel it would be, but with this masking feature it is phenomenal. It's a really, really cool way to manage this process, and I would love to see some of yours when you guys are done. If you have questions, you know where to get hold of me. Otherwise, I'll see you in another video later on. My name is Gerry from Walt and I. Have a good one. Bye.